Alrighty. Again, good afternoon. While we're waiting for folks to come in, I was just noticing that the module for this section is not in the same sequence as it is in the AP classroom. So it's going to seem, as far as Canvas is concerned, that we're skipping all over the place. But come back to that in a minute. Go ahead and I'm gonna wait for a few more people to come in. Then I also realized that while we were working out of the AP classroom, I had not, and I was looking at the Canvas modules. They weren't published. So now they're published, and I've only published the ones that we're doing, and I'll publish them in order that we do them, because they're all over the place. All right, good afternoon, good afternoon. Those of you just coming in, good afternoon. I was explaining we want to look at Canvas. So far we've done Tragedy of the Commons, which was 5.1. We did the ecological footprint the other day, and that's actually 5.11. And we're going to kind of, we introduce sustainability by talking about Tragedy of the Commons. So those are things you should look at. And I'll wait a few more minutes. So take a look at those while we're waiting for everybody to come in. I don't want to repeat this 5 times. So we are in Canvas. We are looking at those first 3 modules. And then I'm going to undo this one. And so we're not going to do aquaculture, but we are skipping today. Today we're going to do clear cutting and forestry. So let me undo the aquaculture one. Hold on. But look at the first 3, and I'll come back to that in a minute. Look those over. Let me, okay. Yeah, that's clicked by accident. So unclick that. And then that way, following in Canvas will be less confusing for you. You won't have to do what I just did, to scroll through the whole list just to get to where we are. All right, so that brings us back down here. All right, so far, and we still got half the class missing, but they're late. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So again, we've looked at Tragedy of the Commons, and I still quite half of you still have, well, I guess it's because half people have been absent, have not looked at the assignment for Tragedy of the Commons, but we do want to make sure that this is kind of like an overview of what we want to look at as far as sustainability is concerned, that there are situations where individuals use a shared resource in a way that harms the collective good. Okay. In other words, this land belongs to you and me, as the song says. And a lot of times people are not taking care of it the way you would take care of it if it was yours. And they miss this word down here, mismanage it. So we are looking at ways that we can properly manage our natural resources, is what sustainability is about. Okay, so we want to, so we looked at our Tragedy of the Commons in terms of the Lorax and what that situation was about. Then we did our ecological footprint. And we want to, and that measures how much of the planet's natural resources, so we're still talking about natural resources, but say what now? Somebody said something, or was that accidentally clicked? Somebody accidentally clicked their their okay. Um, So again, I'm in Canvas. So an ecological footprints measures how much of the Earth's planet's resources are used to support a person based on their use of these resources. So that's what we looked at when we did the little calculator last class, and you took pictures of how much you actually use. So in calculating your footprints, you have an idea of the level of human demand, your human demand on the environment. Okay. Alrighty, so we looked at that. So you should definitely go through and um, look at this section and click on all of these lovely things because I'll ask you about those again later. Let Ariana in. Okay, so we have done ecological footprint and all right, this is an overview of what we mean by sustainability, the ability to maintain and support a process over time without depleting our natural or physical resources. And what we're going to look at as we go through this, the if nobody is policing us, we do whatever we want. So the EPA, or the Environmental Protection Agency, is the agency that is assigned to making sure that we are good stewards of our environment. And then we're going to look at the three, what we call the three pillars of um, protecting our environment. So we're going to come back to looking at that. Uh, da, 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 da. So what I'd like you to do for the next few minutes, because like I said, there's quite a few people missing, is read that over. And then when I think is a good time for everybody, we're going to go to 5.2 clear cutting. And we're going to look at the AP video for that, and then look at doing some catch-up work in the AP classroom. Okay, so again, read the section on sustainability first, and when you finish reading that, like I said, next few minutes, I'll give you about 5-6 minutes to read that over, and then we are going to look at the AP video on clear cutting 5.2 together, and then I'll let you go to the classroom and look at those things. Okay. Alrighty. So sustainability, and then if you are finished with that before I call time, um, you can go ahead and read this section because that's what we're doing next. Okay. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing so I can do attendance. They are, and just a heads up, they are starting to this week doing a participation grade for folks participating and being on camera. Being on camera is one of the requirements of Lighthouse, so everybody needs to be on camera. Most of the time, you all are good about that, and participate. So don't just be logged in, but be logged in and participating and that way when you're participating, then you don't fall behind in your assignments. So that's what they're looking at. Some folks are logging in, then going to take a nap, and then we come the end of the quarter, everybody's trying to turn in 10 assignments and get a grade, and they're losing points because they're marked late. So you want to stay on top of things. When they're assigned, do the assignment in the class that the assignment is being given, and not be focused on somebody else's assignment while you let this one fall behind. Reminder again, we are in April. The AP exam is coming up, so we'll do some practice, more practice for that after the spring break. Okay, I'm going to stop talking, let you read, and then we'll come back and do clear cutting. they've got a lovely thing. Every time we do attendance, we have to have authorization, two-step authorization. All right, so everybody should be in Canvas right now. All right, Ariana, not only am I looking at your ceiling, you're not in Canvas. Keep doing that. All right, good afternoon, Journey. We're in Canvas right now. Uh, okay. And asked everybody to make sure you do a quick read through. We've done Tragedy of the Commons, Ecological Footprints. We're doing an overview of sustainability because that's what all of this is about. And then today we're going to do clear cutting. I also explained I'm going to, as you can see, the modules have different numbers on them as far as the AP textbook is concerned. So we're going to be looking at them slightly out of order to the textbook, but I'll publish these as in the order that they are in the textbook. So we're going to do, we've done 5.1, which was Tragedy of the Commons. Now we're going to do 5.2, but it also includes these other topics as well. Okay. All right, so notice this, it jumps to 17 and 9 and 12 and 11. So it's going to look slightly out of order.
I have to finish this paper. I'm swamped. No one told me college would be so damn.
Hey everybody, it's Mr.
Okay,
Smeeds, and today
that for a minute. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start the video. So again, we're doing 5.2 clear cutting. And after this, I'll let you finish reading Canvas, but I've also assigned the topic questions in the AP classroom for 5.2. So 5.1 and 5.2 will be assigned for this week.
we'll be covering topic 5.2, which is clear cutting. As you can probably guess from the background here and the name, clear cutting is just cutting down all of the trees in a given area at once, usually to harvest them for lumber or to clear the land for some other use, such as agriculture. It's a really efficient way for clearing land or harvesting lumber, so it tends to maximize economic profits in the short term, but it has some serious consequences that we'll be exploring in today's video. Our objective for 5.2 today is to describe the effect of clear cutting on forests. The essential knowledge that we need in order to do this is that clear cutting is economically advantageous, but leads to soil erosion, increased stream temperature and soil temperature, and flooding. We also need to know that trees in a forest absorb pollutants from the air and store or sequester carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, which reduces the effects of climate change. Cutting trees down and burning them releases that carbon dioxide they store and contributes to climate change. Our suggested science skill for today is concept explanation. So first we'll take a look at some of the direct short-term impacts of clear cutting on a forest. And the first one, and perhaps the most important, is soil erosion. So without the stabilizing effect of the tree's roots in the soil anymore, the topsoil, which contains all of the nutrients and the organic matter, is much more prone to erosion. It's easily blown away by the wind, it's easily washed away by the rain, and what's going to happen is we can see right here in the diagram, there's going to be channels carved into the side of slopes. Again, the soil is just going to be washed away really easily by the rain and the wind, and it gets deposited in nearby bodies of water. So we can see in the second picture how muddy this stream is. That increases its turbidity. Turbidity is a measure of the total suspended solids in a body of water, and you can think of it as kind of how cloudy it is. So this is a problem for fish. It may make it harder for them to get oxygen from the water. It may clog their gills. It's also going to make it harder for plants that need sunlight to penetrate the water in order to photosynthesize. We have another diagram here that shows the effect even of just leaving a strip of vegetation next to that stream. So a lot of those trees there and the roots would absorb a lot of the sediments running down that cliff in the selective cutting example. But when it's clear cut, there's just no vegetation to stabilize the soil. And as a result, we get a really muddy stream and we get very turbid waters. Another important impact is the fact that this leads to increased soil and water temperatures. So when we lose the shade that's offered by the leaves of the trees, that's going to result in more sunlight hitting the soil, and the soil is going to have a lower albedo, meaning it's going to absorb more sunlight than the leaves of the trees did. And so that's going to increase the temperature of the soil as well. The loss of the shade on the river also warms the river, and the fact that the river is now a muddier, darker color is also going to lead to the river absorbing more heat from the sun's rays. This is a problem for microorganisms that live in the soil. Direct sunlight can kill them. It also dries out the soil and it's going to make it even more prone to erosion. And then finally, we can even experience flooding and landslides when a forest is cut down and is clear cut. So again, without that stabilizing root structure in place, the soil is far more prone to erosion. Another problem is that the logging machinery compacts the soil and the increased sunlight has dried it out. So it's decreased the water holding capacity of the soil. So now when it does rain, that soil is going to hold a lot less water. It's going to produce a lot more runoff, and that's going to lead to landslides like we can see in this picture at the top of the screen. It can also lead to flash floods because all of that excess rain is no longer able to be absorbed by the soil because it's not able to absorb water as well without the tree's roots. Another consequence of clear cutting is that it usually replaces mature forests, like we see in the top picture here, with tree plantations, which we can see in the bottom picture. So tree plantations are areas where generally just one species of fast-growing tree is replanted, grown, and then harvested. The problem here is this greatly lowers biodiversity. So because there are far fewer tree species, there are far fewer habitats suitable for other organisms that may depend on those tree species. With less biodiversity in both plants and animals, we have lower ecosystem resilience. So if there were to be some sort of natural disaster or a drought, the tree plantation is far more vulnerable to total ecosystem collapse than this mature forest, which has such wide biodiversity. It's also going to, again, allow for less habitats for a less diverse group of organisms. And then we also have this fact that all of these trees are going to be the same age. They're all planted at the same time. They're all going to be about the same size. And so this is not going to allow for dead trees to come into existence in this habitat, which are needed by many organisms, such as woodpeckers, insects, and other decomposers. So we're not going to have the same succession in this ecosystem that we would in a mature forest, where trees dying and falling down really is part of the ecosystem's natural progression. Again, it provides nutrients for decomposers and homes for many different organisms. To understand some of the longer-term consequences of deforestation, especially clear cutting, we need to look at some of the benefits that forests provide. So we'll be discussing here how forests provide air filtration, how they remove CO2 from the atmosphere, and then how they're a great reservoir for biodiversity. So the stomata, or the leaf pores of trees, will oftentimes intake different air pollutants, things like volatile organic compounds, nitrogen dioxide, and particulate matter, and they'll actually store them in the tree. So we can see in this diagram here, these pollutants that are emitted by homes, by factories, by especially power plants, are going to be taken right into the tree via these little leaf pores called stomata. And then the tree will actually convert those into less harmful substances, and they'll store them in the tree or store them in the soil. And so they literally scrub the air clean of air pollutants. Another really important service that's provided by forests is the removal and storage of CO2 from the atmosphere. So we call this CO2 sequestration, or CO2 storage. So trees during photosynthesis take in carbon dioxide, and they convert the carbon in carbon dioxide into sugars, into tissues like the wood of the trunk, and then they release oxygen, which is needed by organisms like animals, humans, for respiration. And then finally, we know that they provide a really important habitat for tons of different organisms, and this is a great reservoir for biodiversity. It's going to lead to more ecosystem resilience. And remember that humans have financial benefits from diverse ecosystems because they represent ecotourism. So people will pay to come and view beautiful landscapes that have high biodiversity. So given all those valuable services that forests provide, we can look at some of these longer-term consequences of deforestation. It's going to reduce the ability of forests to filter air pollutants and carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So cutting them down, especially clear cutting them, not only prevents them from continuing to take air pollutants out of the atmosphere and store CO2, but it's going to actually release carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere when these leftover tree scraps like stumps or different branches, when those decompose and break down, they release their carbon dioxide back in the atmosphere. So now we're actually contributing to climate change with deforestation. Another problem is that there's a method of agriculture called slash and burn, which is exactly what it sounds like. And this releases carbon dioxide stored in the trees, in addition to nitrous oxide, which is an incredibly potent greenhouse gas, and water vapor, which, although it's a natural greenhouse gas, can still disrupt the amount of moisture that's retained in an area and lead to it drying out. So all of these effects contribute to climate change as we're releasing greenhouse gases back into the atmosphere by cutting down trees and especially by burning them. and preventing their future sequestration or storage of carbon dioxide. Our suggested science skill for practice of our Q 5.2 today is describing an environmental concept. And so I want you to see if you can describe 2 ecosystem services provided by forests, and then explain how clear cutting that forest would affect each of those ecosystem services you described. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today.
Okay. So again, he wanted you to think about the benefits that a forest has as being your number one thought. In our talks about global warming, it goes to the benefits of having trees. The trees take the carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. Our Earth has this lovely blanket of carbon dioxide, and that's what keeps us warm. And so if the trees are regulating how much carbon dioxide is in the air, then we have a nice balance of warm and cold. If we chop down all the trees and there's nothing there to remove the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, then that carbon dioxide stays in the atmosphere and we have a much warmer planet. Okay, which just sounds like a simple concept, but the powers that be don't always seem to want to believe that. But it's a simple biology fact that that's what trees do. That's why trees are important. Older trees do it better than younger trees. So clear cutting is not always a good thing. However, what we're looking at with sustainability, we're always looking at what's good for the people, what's good for the plants, and then what's good for the people seems to always override everything else. If we need to have farmland, we're going to clear all the trees out the way and we're going to make farmland. And farmland doesn't have the same effect on the atmosphere as trees do. So a lot of times you're going to, it'll always come down to economics. Okay, how does it benefit us to cut down the trees, all the trees? What benefit, is it cost effective? That all those things, economy, what's good for us, not what's good for the trees, what's good for us. Okay, so that's a big factor in deciding whether you're going to do clear cutting or not. One of the things I wanted to point out too is what's happened in California, that mass fire that they had out there took down a lot of trees. So that it was natural clear cutting. They didn't go on and cut them down. They just all burnt down. And then what happened behind that is then they had all this heavy rainfall. So like he was saying, there were no trees there to hold the soil in place. And so after having massive fires, then they had massive landslides when it rained because all the soil was loose and everything that wasn't tied down with the tree washed away. So having trees are very important. So they keep the soil where it's supposed to be. They add some fertility to the soil so you can grow other crops and things will grow there. If there's no, like he said, you put younger trees in this, because that's another policy in some areas where, especially with all these new houses that they're building, is if they clear the land to build houses, they've got to plant some trees back. So you'll notice that when they do that, the new housing developments have tree stubs all over the place. And sometimes they do that before they finish building the houses. But those are young trees. And it's going to take a while before we have natural tree cover and habitat where things that live in that type of tree will want to live. And so until then, the things that used to live in those trees have no place to be. So we've affected biodiversity. Even though we're trying to put it back, it's going to take a while. Okay. There's not as much shade. So the sun is going to dry up the soil real quick because there's not enough canopy layer to that area. So there's a lot of downside to clear cutting, even though economically we need the wood, we need the land. There's a lot of reasons why we want the trees, but then is it good for the area? So you have to weigh those two things. All right, so again, I'm going to let you, those are the areas in Canvas that you should look at. In the AP classroom, so you should have done 5.1 and this is 5.2. So I'm going to I think they're already assigned. So you need to make sure that you do that. As far as things that you should have turned in already, you should have turned in your Tragedy of the Commons and your carbon footprint. Those should be. I'm gonna make these two disappear because that's from last semester. So that's not even in the grade book. I can't do anything with those anymore. The only things that are in the current grade book are Tragedy of the Commons and carbon footprint. What I will add by the end of the week are the quizzes for 5.1 and 5.2. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking and let you get to doing that. Any questions? Any questions? So, AP Classroom. And again, the video is in your playlist, your YouTube playlist, so you can go back and watch that one. I kind of like his better because one, he does the objective, and you need to be aware what the objectives are. And he also refers back to the question that needs to be answered at the end. Okay, so here we are. Here we are. So you should have already done Tragedy of the Commons, and now you've been assigned to do clear cutting, consequences of clear cutting, and unsustainable clear cutting. I don't think I assigned the videos, so don't worry about watching the videos. Did not assign those, so don't worry about that. Did not assign that either. So as far as the AP classroom is concerned, you just need to do the topic question quizzes for 5.1, 5.2. Before the end of the week, we'll get to Green Revolution, but right now, just worry about those two if you have not already done so. Okay. Tragedy of the Commons. Again, I only about 3 or 4 of you have done that, so make sure you do that as well. With the footprint calculator, let me see something. Okay, did I assign this? I did assign the ecological footprint, so that's already been assigned as well. I did not assign the videos for that, but I did do the ecological footprint. All right, so you've got quite a few things to catch up on. All right, and it looks like only one person has done the Tragedy of the Commons quiz. So please make sure that you do that. That's 5.1. Let's see. Okay, 2 people. So I did not see that. Hmm. Oh. Okay, so Mhm. Let me look at that. Why would it be locked? That's why I'm looking at the footprints quiz. 3 of you have submitted it, but they won't let me score it. That is so weird. All right, let me check on why clear cutting is locked. Come out of there. All right, clear cutting. What's today? Um, all right, try it again. It might have been the timing. It was supposed to start today. Clear cutting should have started today. It might have been the time. Um, it's like it just opened it. All right. And it's open. I found that my time is slightly ahead of yours. So give it 2 minutes because it says open at 12:06. So it might be, and my computer is saying 1:07. So you might be able to get in. It works now. Okay, good. All right. It was the timing on it. Thanks for letting me know. All right, same thing with Tragedy of the Commons. I don't know. I think because I clicked on it, it's now open today, but it was open the other day as well. Let me check on the carbon footprint. That one I also just messed with, so it might have today's date on it as well. It does. All right, I'm gonna stop messing with them. So all of them as of today are open. 5.1, 2, and 11. Those are all three open as of today. They should have been open as of Friday, but because some of you have done it already. Okay. What's that? Okay. And folks, in the grade book, I'm going to lump all three of these together as one grade out of 9. So it's 3 for Tragedy of the Commons, 3 for Ecological Footprint, and 3 for Clear Cutting. So I'm going to, in this grade book, you'll see it as 5.1, 2, and 11 out of 9. That way we don't have so many columns. All right, for those of you who haven't done your ecological footprint, you may remember you're doing your summary page that has a picture of the Earths on it, and your facts and figures page, which actually translates what that means. So it tells you how much land you're using, how much energy consumption you're using. You want a screenshot of both of those pictures as well as your opinion or your summary reflection. Okay. Um, Hmm. Okay. Let me pull this up and see. Okay. Um, Actually, let me just show you somebody else's page. Hopefully they won't mind. All right. How do I do this? No, I don't want to do that. What do I want to do? Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull this up. Isadora asked me, what did I mean by the summary page? And this, so Kamari, if you don't mind, I'm going to show yours because yours is the one I have up at the moment. All right. When you complete your carbon footprint and the first screen you're going to come up with, and let me see if I can't zoom out on this. Can I zoom, 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 zoom? There was a way to zoom. Anyway, at the very top, you have the key at the top. One says summary. So your summary page is the one that's going to have the Earths on it. When you click on the second one, it says facts and figures. That's going to be the one that she has at the bottom, actually, will be your facts and figures page. And then solutions will be the last one. But what I really want you, so you really only have to do the top and the bottom one that's on the screen here. The solutions is nice. You can read that over. And then what I needed from you was a statement saying what you felt about your facts and figures and what is said about you and your personal energy consumption on the planet. So those of you who have not done this yet, that's what I need from you, because a couple of people have just returned their assignment because you didn't have everything. So what you need to have is the summary page. That's the one with all the Earths on it. And when you click at the top, the key at the top, it'll say facts and figures. That'll give you the picture at the bottom. And then you can look at the solutions one, but what I want you to do is give a personal statement as to what you think about this. What things would you change? What ways that this was interesting to you? Did it shock you? What are you going to change based on what you see? Okay. Alrighty. So basically it's 5 for each picture and 5 for the summary, your summary statement. All right, Isadora, did I answer your question? Okay, good, good. Jada, you had the same situation going on as well. And Journey, you were missing something too. But you can resubmit and I will check it again. Okay. I will check. Just give me just 1 second. I had to switch pages. Hold on. Mhm. Thank you, Easy. I got it. Um, all right, Journey, the page that um, has the breakdown of what it'll say at the top, facts and figures. That's the one you're missing. So if you go back to that, I don't know if it saves it for you or you have to actually do the take the quiz again, but there's a key at the top of the page and you can click on each tab and it'll take you to, so once you finish the summary, that's the picture with all of the Earths on it. The next page, if you click the next tab, that's facts and figures. It explains what your final results mean. That's the page that you are missing. Okay, that was for Journey. And then you can just include a second picture and resubmit. Oh, wait a second. Oh, never mind. Never mind, Journey. I see it. Okay, what was showing up for me was just the one picture, but you had two links. Sorry about that. You, you got it. You're good. Journey, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. I did not look at the links at the top. You're fine. I see why you question. You're welcome. And again, I apologize. Okay. Oh, time's up, folks. Oh, if you have no questions for me, I'll see you tomorrow.